It was a calm Monday afternoon at the Crestfall Grand, a five-star hotel known for its glossy interiors, robotic level service, and guests with last names that carried weight. The kind of hotel where every hallway echoed wealth, and even the silence felt expensive. Marble floors polished like mirrors, flower arrangements that cost more than rent, and staff trained to smile even when the world was on fire. At exactly 2:16 p.m., the doors spun open, and in walked Klaus Richter. Everything about him screamed control. He wasn't tall, maybe 5'10", but his presence towered. His coat? Cashmere, midnight navy. His shoes? Gleaming black German leather. His eyes? Piercing and cold, like a CEO who'd fired thousands and never blinked. But it was a silence that followed him that gave away. Guests paused, staff straightened, and even the bellboy froze mid-step. Klaus strode straight to the front desk, where a young receptionist, Brandon, typed away, humming to himself. He didn't even look up until the man was inches from the counter. Guten Tag. Ich habe ein Suite reserviert unter dem Namen Klaus Richter, the man said. Brandon blinked. Sorry, what? Klaus narrowed his eyes. Ich habe ein Reservium. Suite. Richter. Brandon stared. Give me one SEC, sir. He clicked through the computer, panicked. Do you? Have an ID? Klaus handed it over, lips tightening. A German passport. Clearly legit. Still, Brandon was lost. Hey, Amanda, he called out to the other receptionist. A young woman with pink nails and perfect posture. Can you help with this guest? I think he's Russian or something. Klaus exhaled sharply. Ich bin Deutscher, he snapped. AUS München. Amanda walked over, took one look, and smiled a fake smile. Hi there. Welcome to the Crestfall Grand. Sprechen Sie English? No reply. Brandon fumbled with Google Translate on his phone. It says you want a reservation? No, wait, he has a reservation. More confusion. The line of waiting guests behind Klaus started to grow. Someone coughed. A kid tugged at his dad's sleeve. A woman sighed impatiently. But Klaus? He didn't flinch. He stood perfectly still, like a lion waiting for the zookeeper to remember who's really in charge. Amanda tried again, louder this time, as if volume would fix the language gap. Do you want to check in? Klaus finally responded coldly. Dies ist ein Witz. Ist das ein Hotel oder ein Clown Camp? Amanda looked helpless. Brandon shrugged. He whispered to her. Why the hell doesn't he speak English if he's staying in New York? To them, it was inconvenience. To Klaus, it was insult. Now pause for a second. If you're watching this, let me ask you, what would you have done in his shoes? He slammed his leather briefcase on the counter. Guests jumped. The manager, a man named Thomas in a navy blue suit 2 sizes too small, rushed over, already sweating. Sir, I understand there's a language barrier. One moment. He tried speaking into translator app per Richter. Sie haben ein Reservierung? Klaus barely glanced at him. Endlich Demand. Der ES versucht. Bravo. Thomas smiled nervously. Yes? Reservation. Okay. He tapped something on the screen. We fix. Just wait. But Klaus had already turned away, muttering, unprofessional, unfeig, unjebbled it. Amanda heard that one. Unjebbled it? Did he just call us stupid? I think so, Brandon muttered. Meanwhile, in the background, a quiet figure was watching. Her name was Amina, black, 33, housekeeping uniform, latex gloves, afro tucked into a net, invisible. She was pushing her cart past the lobby, heading toward the elevator. But she'd heard every word Klaus said. She didn't need the translator app. She didn't need Google. She didn't need a manager. She knew German, fluent. Maya had once lived in Cologne. She'd gone to university in Bonn for 3 years before her father died, and her visa expired. She'd come back to the U.S. with debt, a broken dream, and zero pity from immigration. Cleaning rooms had been her survival job ever since. Now, she stood near the edge of the marble floor, watching. The hotel was fumbling, spiraling. A millionaire was about to walk out, and no one could fix it, except her. She took a breath and stepped forward. Entschuldigung, Herr Richter, she said calmly. Everyone turned, even Klaus. There she stood, simple, unassuming, still wearing her name tag that read Maya/housekeeping. But her voice? Crystal clear. Accent spot on. Kan ich Ihnen helfen? Ich habe Ihr Unterhaltung gehört. Sie haben ein Suite reserviert, ja. Klaus blinked, then nodded. Slowly. Endlich, he said. Geman, du nicht dummest. Maya walked to the desk. Hat ein Suite unter dem Namen Richter reserviert. Wahrscheinlich in der Präsident Tenflügel. She looked at Amanda. Check your system. Look under international guests, premium tier. Amanda blinked. Oh, okay. Klaus leaned closer to Amina. Was Mackesy here? He asked. Sie arbeiten nicht in der Reception. She smiled. Ich arbeite in der Reinigung. Aber ich habe auch in Deutschland studiert. What? Universität Bonn. Klaus raised an eyebrow. Being druckend. He turned to the manager. Sie. Entlassen Sie Dyson Jungen. UND auch. He pointed at Brandon and Amanda. Aber behalten Sie dies Frau. Sie ist die einzige, die es würdest. Everyone froze. The lobby had turned into a movie set. Guests looked at Maya differently now. Staff avoided her eyes. Even the manager stammered. Oh, we don't fire people like that, sir. But we will make sure you're properly checked in now. Amina, thank you. Maya nodded and backed away. But Klaus followed her with his eyes, as if memorizing her every step. And just like that, the maid became the most powerful person in the room. And nobody saw it coming. Maya had planned to spend her shift scrubbing bathrooms, replacing towels, and leaving little chocolates on pillows that cost more than her dinner. But now, as she returned to her cart, her world had shifted. Slightly, uneasily. Behind her, the manager was stammering into his headset, whispering something about cross-training and language asset allocation. Amanda glared at her, cheeks flushed. Brandon faked a laugh to hide his bruised ego. And Klaus? Klaus watched her walk away like a man trying to figure out a riddle. Maya didn't want the spotlight. She just wanted her shift to end. She had a bus to catch, groceries to buy, a cousin in Ghana she still sent money to when she could. But the moment she opened her cart to grab fresh linen for 604, a voice startled her. From. She turned. Klaus Richter, standing right behind her. He wasn't smiling. He didn't do that. But his face had softened, just slightly. Darf ich eine Sprechen? He asked. She hesitated. Ich arbeite. He looked at the cart, then back at her. Sie sind überqualifiziert für das, was Sie tun. Maya wiped her gloves on her apron. You don't know me. Vielleicht nicht. Aber ich erkenne talent when ich es sehe. She gave him a practiced, neutral look. Was wollen Sie von mir? Klaus took out a small leather notebook. It had a gold emblem on it, some kind of family crest. He flipped to a page and scribbled something. Ich bin hier für Gesellschaft, he said. UND ich Brostjemanden, der mir hilft. Die Amerikaner hier verstehen Michigan nicht. Sie hören nicht zu. Aber Sie. He handed her the note. It was a phone number, an email, and something else. A suite number. His suite. Denken Sie darüber nach, he said. Ich bin bis Freitag hier. With that, he turned and walked off, as if it had been decided. By noon the next day, word had spread. Staff started whispering. Did you hear? The German billionaire? He asked for the maid. Like, personally asked. No way. What for? Some assistant thing, I think. He tipped her 500 just for translating yesterday. Maya kept her head down, but she could feel the change in how people looked at her. Not with respect, but with confusion and curiosity. One housekeeper joked under her breath. I guess I'd better dust off my French. The front desk wouldn't even meet her eyes. She thought about throwing the note away, but she didn't. She folded it once, then again, and tucked it into her bra, just in case. That night, she called her sister. Wait, her sister said. A rich German man is asking you to work for him and gave you his suite number? It's not like that. Are you sure? Maya stayed quiet. It's your life, sis. But don't let them turn you into a novelty. Wednesday afternoon, room 2403. If you are enjoying this story, please like and subscribe to help our content reach more people. Klaus hadn't checked out. In fact, he had upgraded to the top-floor penthouse suite with its own private elevator and a piano no one played. Maya arrived just after a shift. No uniform, just jeans, sneakers, and a cardigan. She looked like herself again. The door opened before she could knock. Punktlich, Klaus said, stepping aside. Inside, The room was nothing short of decadent. City skyline on one side, hand-carved bar on the other, a table with 3 untouched plates of food, a bottle of wine already breathing. Please, he gestured to the seat. Setsincy sitch. I don't drink, she said. Muslim. Gut. Mayor for Michigan. He poured himself a glass and sat opposite her. I meant what I said, he began. You're wasted in that uniform. Your mind is sharp, and your German is cleaner than most people I know in Berlin. Maya tilted her head. And what would you have me do, Richter? He leaned forward. Be my interpreter. For the next few days, I have meetings, phone calls, contracts, and I need someone I can trust. You'll be paid generously. Maya raised an eyebrow. How generously? He slid a check across the table. $4,500. Just for 2 days. She stared at it. I don't need an answer now, he said, but I don't offer things twice. That night, she stood in front of the mirror, brushing her curls out of the net. She remembered her days in Bonn, walking to campus in the cold, debating marks in lecture halls. The professor who once told her she had a mind like a scalpel. All of it felt like another life, one that had been stolen. And now here it was, a glimpse of it again, carried by a man she didn't trust, but couldn't quite ignore. Thursday morning, the hotel buzzed as usual. Tourists checking in, suits checking out. Maya arrived early. No uniform this time. She had borrowed her cousin's blazer, ironed her slacks, and wore her best earrings. Tiny silver studs she saved for Eid. She rode the private elevator to the top. Klaus opened the door. He smiled, this time for real. By Thursday afternoon, Maya was no longer the maid. She walked through the lobby in tailored pants and heels that clicked with confidence. No housekeeping cart. No gloves. No bowed head. Guests didn't notice her the same way, but the staff did. Whispers trailed her like shadows. Is that her? She looks different. Guess she leveled up. But Maya wasn't chasing anyone's approval. She was on her way to Suite 2403, and the card in her hand now opened more than just doors. It unlocked possibilities. The moment she stepped into Klaus's suite, the scent hit her first. Tobacco leaves and cedarwood cologne. Classical music played softly in the background. Bach, she guessed. He was seated at the table, already dressed in a pressed charcoal suit, sipping an espresso as if the world was beneath him. Guten Morgen, Fräulein Amina, he said, standing as she entered. Sie sehen aus wie German, der Gehort was wordist. You mean I look like I'm not cleaning toilets anymore? She shot back, with a slight smile. Klaus laughed, unexpected and loud. Do you know das? That morning, Klaus had 2 back-to-back video calls with real estate developers in Berlin and a venture partner in Dubai. Maya stood beside him, headset in one ear, translating every sentence back and forth. Perfectly. But what stood out to her wasn't the language, it was the content. The deal wasn't just about hotels or land. It was about influence, political connections, money being shifted through shell companies. She kept her face neutral, but her mind raced. One of the Berlin investors even paused during the call and asked, "Who is your translator?" She's very precise. She's not a translator, Klaus replied. She's my consultant. Maya blinked. That was the first time anyone had called her that. After the calls, Klaus stood and stretched. You're brilliant, he said. Better than most of the consultants I've paid 10 times as much for. Why me? She finally asked. He walked over to the minibar, poured himself a scotch, and leaned against the counter. Because intelligence without arrogance is rare, he said. And you don't try to impress me. That's impressive. Maya folded her arms. You don't strike me as someone who values humility. Klaus took a sip. I don't, but I value usefulness. And you're useful. There it was, the switch. The compliment wrapped in condescension. Maya stared at him. Do you always pay your maids to help launder money? Klaus didn't flinch. Do you always eavesdrop on your guests? They locked eyes. I'm not stupid, she said. I never said you were. You think I don't know what this is? You're not just buying translation. You're buying silence. Klaus tilted his head, intrigued. And are you for sale? Maya didn't answer. She just picked up her bag and said, I'm on my break. Sitting outside the hotel, on a low stone wall near the valet stand, Maya scrolled through her old email account. She found one she hadn't opened in years, a scholarship rejection letter from 2018. Unfortunately, due to visa policy changes, it crushed her then. But now, in a way, she was living what none of them predicted, using her education in the most unexpected place. She looked up at the skyline. She didn't feel powerful, just aware. Klaus had pulled her out of invisibility. Yes, but not without strings. And something about him felt off, not just controlling. Desperate, Klaus invited her to dinner. Room service had laid out everything: lamb chops, roasted duck, saffron rice, crystal glasses, French wine. Maya barely touched her plate. "Do you want something?" he asked her finally. "I want to know what you're hiding," she said plainly. Klaus chuckled. "Everything. Isn't that what rich men do?" "No. Some of them just don't care." "You think I care?" She nodded. "Yes. You care enough to pull a maid out of a hallway, put her in a suit, and pay her thousands just to sit across from you. You don't need a translator. You need someone who sees you." Silence. That's when Klaus stood up and walked toward the massive window overlooking the city. "I used to have a daughter," he said. Maya's breath caught. "She died. Car accident. 2 years ago. She would have been your age. Also spoke 5 languages." He looked at Amina. "You remind me of her. The fire. The stubbornness. The eyes that ask too many questions." Maya's voice softened. "I'm sorry." "I'm not," Klaus replied. "Pain sharpens a blade. It cuts the fat. And now I only surround myself with people who matter." He walked back and sat across from her. "You matter." Maya didn't know whether to feel honored or cornered. Then he slid another envelope toward her. Inside, $10,000. "Stay until Sunday. There's a gala. I want you there, as my interpreter, but also as a guest." Maya blinked. "A guest?" He nodded. "You'll wear something from Saks. I'll have it delivered tomorrow. You'll represent my company." She stared at the envelope, the weight of it, the message behind it. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was performance, optics, power, and she wasn't sure she liked the role she was playing. But she said, "Okay." Saturday night at the Crestfall Grand wasn't like the rest of the week. The marble didn't just shine, it glowed. Chandeliers burned brighter. The air was different, like it had been perfumed with money, power, and secrets. Tonight was the International Hospitality Investment Gala, an invite-only event for developers, hotel magnates, and those who own the cities you live in. Klaus Richter, of course, was on the board. But this time, he wasn't arriving alone. Maya stood in front of the floor-length mirror inside Klaus's suite, barely recognizing herself. The dress was deep green satin, hugging her curves without asking for attention. Her hair was pressed and styled by a hotel stylist, her shoes sharp and silver. The diamond necklace wasn't hers, a loaner from Klaus's collection. It was heavier than she expected. She looked elegant, powerful, but also misplaced. "I look like I snuck in," she muttered under her breath. "No," Klaus said from behind her. "You look like you belong." They stepped off the private elevator and into the ballroom as flashbulbs popped. Klaus in a tuxedo, Maya on his arm, heads turned. The murmurs started. "Who's that with Klaus?" "She's beautiful." "Is she his daughter?" "No, she's black." Maya heard all of it. She smiled anyway. Klaus leaned toward her ear. "Ignore them. They live in cages. We walk free." The ballroom itself was a museum of decadence. Gold trim on the columns, live orchestra on the balcony, champagne that cost more than tuition. Servers walked by with trays of foie gras, caviar, oysters. Maya didn't touch any of it, but her eyes touched everything. Klaus walked her into a tight circle of billionaires, venture capitalists, and real estate predators. They all looked the same. Pale smiles, pale skin, pale intentions. He introduced her like a rare wine. "This is Amina, linguist, strategist, my most trusted advisor while in New York." Their reactions ranged from polite confusion to subtle condescension. One white woman with tight blonde curls and too much Chanel on her neck smiled and said, "Oh, how exotic." Maya smiled back. "So is ignorance, but it's less flattering." Klaus laughed. Hard. The others did not. At one point, Klaus stepped away to speak with a man from the Saudi investment group. That's when another guest, a large man named Gregory, cornered Maya near the wine table. So Klaus's translator, huh? Among other things. He sipped his drink. He's a tough man. Hard to like. But he always picks interesting company. She nodded. Interesting how? Gregory leaned in. I mean, he's had assistants before. Never seen him bring one here. Never seen one look like you. Maya tilted her head. And what exactly do I look like? He shrugged, eyes lingering too long. Let's just say you're a breath of fresh air in a very white room. She sipped her water. And you're a reminder that even oxygen can stink. Gregory chuckled, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Later in the evening, Klaus stood on stage giving his annual State of the Industry speech. He talked about legacy, about building, about disruption. Maya listened from the side, watching the room more than the speech. Then something changed. Klaus looked at her mid-sentence, paused, and said, and behind every empire is someone who saw what others didn't. He raised his glass to Amina, my trusted confidant. Everyone clapped, some reluctantly. Amina's heart pounded. The spotlight found her. She didn't want it, because that's when it clicked. She wasn't being honored. She was being used. She wasn't just a guest at the gala. She was the performance. The maid who spoke German. The surprise of the evening. The twist. After the speech, Maya walked outside to the terrace. The city stretched below her like a grid of glittering lies. She took off the diamond necklace and slipped it into her clutch. Klaus followed. You're angry. No, I'm aware. He looked confused. I praise you. You displayed me, she said. Like a luxury car you didn't build but want credit for driving. Klaus sighed. You're overreacting. Maybe. But for a man who sees so much, you're blind to the most important thing. And what's that? That I was already enough before you noticed me. He stepped closer. You're emotional. That's fine. But don't throw away what we've built. We didn't build anything. You hired me. That's it. He paused. What do you want, Amina? More money? A title? A job in Berlin? She looked him straight in the eyes. I want to walk through a door without wondering who thinks I don't belong. I want to do it on my own. Klaus didn't respond. He just stared. For the first time, unsure what to say. Maya stepped past him, and this time she walked away. The next morning, the ballroom was empty. Gone were the chandeliers' flickers, the violins, the flutes of champagne. Just silence now, and discarded linens. The echo of wealth fading like a perfume left behind on silk. Maya woke up in her own apartment in Brooklyn, a small studio with cracked tile, and a radiator that clicked too loud in the winter. Her head hurt, not from alcohol, she hadn't touched a drop, but from everything else. She'd slept barely 3 hours. The dress still hung from the hook on her door, a symbol of what had almost become. The clutch was still on her dresser, unopened since last night. Inside, the necklace, the envelope, and her hotel staff ID badge, faded, bent, and honest. She took one look at the necklace and placed it in a plain cardboard box. Then she called the front desk at the Crestfall Grand. Please let Mr. Richter know his necklace will be waiting for him at Lost and Found, she said. Click. No goodbyes. By noon, her phone rang. Unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, another call. This time she picked up. Amina. Klaus's voice. Calm. Cold. You think walking away makes you noble? No, she replied. It makes me free. You could have had everything. I already do. A clear mind. Clean hands. And no one trying to dress me up like a museum piece. He was silent. Then you embarrass me. Maya smiled. Good. Now we're even. Click. Words spread like fire through linen. She quit? Just like that. She walked out on Klaus Richter? Even the general manager looked shaken. People whispered about her in the halls. Some with awe. Some with disgust. Some with subtle admiration. The kind they'd never say out loud. Amanda, the receptionist who'd ignored her weeks ago, now couldn't stop talking. She was always like that. Thought she was better than everyone else. Brandon nodded. Smart girl, but too proud. That's what gets you nowhere. But the older janitor, Mr. Wells, just chuckled to himself. She didn't go nowhere, he said quietly. She got out. That afternoon, Maya received a package. No return address. Just her name. Inside, A handwritten letter. Maya, I still don't know if you're a gift I didn't deserve or a lesson I was meant to learn. Either way, I'll remember you longer than most. Kay. She folded the note once, then again. Then she tossed it in the trash. 3 days later, Maya returned to the hotel, but not to clean. She had applied for a freelance interpreter job with a luxury concierge firm 2 months prior. They finally reached out. An interview at the Crestfall Grand, of all places. As she stepped into the elevator, dressed in a sharp black blazer and with her laptop in hand, Brandon happened to walk by. He did a double take. Amina? She smiled, but didn't stop walking. Thought you quit. She turned, just as the elevator door started to close. I did, she said, and now I'm here for something better. The door slid shut. Her interview went well. Too well. She wasn't just hired. She was offered a contract. $90 per hour. Remote translation work for international clients. Discretion guaranteed. Independence built in. Later that evening, she walked past the Crestfall Grand one last time. She stood across the street, watching the bellboys, the valets, the new maids pushing carts like she once did. Then she smiled, not in bitterness, in clarity. She hadn't just walked out of a job. She had walked into herself. A month later, Klaus Richter sat in a boardroom in Hamburg, flanked by attorneys. The Dubai deal had unraveled. The Berlin office had cut ties. Word of his questionable financial practices had slipped out. Quietly but fatally, someone had leaked emails. No one could prove who, but Klaus had his suspicions. He stared out the frosted glass window, watching the snow fall across the city, and he whispered her name, Maya. 6 months later, Harlem, New York, the sun filtered through the lace curtains of Amina's new apartment. It was still small, but brighter, cleaner. Hers. Stacks of books lined the shelves now. German, French, Arabic, English. Fiction, philosophy, economics. Her little studio felt like a mind made visible. On the corkboard above her desk were pinned notes from clients around the world. Your translation saved the meeting. You were right. The wording was too harsh. Thanks for the catch. We'd like to retain you long term. She brewed coffee slowly, deliberately. No alarm clock. No rush. No gloves or cart waiting outside the door. This was peace. But something else was waiting that morning. A message. Her email pinged. Subject line, Klaus Richter. Request for contact. She froze. Open it. Amina, I am in New York for one night. I've made many mistakes. I wonder if we might speak once more on neutral ground. Not as employer and employee. Not as rich man and maid. Just people. I'll be at the Met rooftop. 6 p.m. Klaus. She almost didn't go. But curiosity isn't weakness. She arrived in a navy coat, modest heels, and no makeup, just herself. Her real self. The city stretched out behind her, golden in the setting sun. Klaus was already there, seated at a table with 2 glasses of sparkling water. No wine this time. No show. He stood as she approached, but she waved him down. No need for performances, she said. He nodded. You look well. I am. Independent. Always was. He gave a small smile. Older now. Or maybe just more tired. You were right, he said. I used you. Maya sipped her water. You used everyone. I was just the one who noticed. He looked down. I thought elevating you was generosity. It was ego. He looked out at the skyline. I'm being investigated. Not just in Germany. Here, too. The walls are closing. Maya didn't flinch. What do you want from me? He looked at her, eyes soft for once. Not forgiveness. Just the truth. You already have it. You've always had it, she said. You just didn't want to listen unless it came in the form of flattery or address. He nodded. You taught me something, he said finally. Power is loud, but dignity? It's quiet and lasting. She stood to leave. Goodbye, Klaus. Goodbye, Maya. He didn't follow her this time. Maya sat in a small recording studio in Brooklyn, speaking into a mic. The host smiled. So you went from cleaning rooms in a luxury hotel to managing international communications for 5 global firms. That's incredible. It wasn't luck, she said. It was choice. What do you say to young black girls who are told to stay quiet, stay small? Maya smiled. Don't just learn the language. Learn the silence between the words. That's where the power hides. Maya walks through a bookshop buying a German poetry collection. A new staff of the Crestfall Grand struggles to help a foreign guest. But this time, they call a professional interpreter immediately. Brandon now works at a cheaper hotel. Amanda runs an Instagram travel account. Maya teaches a free online class called Language and Liberation. Enrollment: 15,000 students. Let it remind you, you don't always have to shout to be heard. Sometimes the most powerful statement is silence. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tell us, where are you watching from? Let's keep this message moving.